Have you ever dreamed of having one guitar rig that can do it all? From the smallest little get together with your friends or maybe one other musician to the largest stadium that would take care of everything. Well, today we're going to break down everything you need to do that, how to set it up, and all that with a little bit more. Let's have a think on that.
Hello and welcome to the podcast, where we are here to strengthen music careers and communities one song at a time. And now here's your host, Jacob Wing. Yay!
Hey everybody, welcome to today's episode. I could not be more excited. I have been waiting months to make this episode. So many things just took a little bit longer or stretched out a bit beyond the control of what I could do. So we'll share some of the stuff that happened there and get into that. But today we want to break down this rig and what it can do for you going forward. I call it the Transformer rig. It can be everything you need, big, small, any venue, any place, anytime. Let's go over what it is and how you can utilize it. Let's go. First thing we want to talk about here is the overall large rig, what we're calling the big rig or the wet, dry, wet setup. So what this is, of course, is just whatever your pedal board might be. We have setting here, and then we have that running, of course, to two outs to your speakers, wherever that may be, your PA speakers, your front of house. And then we also have it running to our amp here in the back. And that gives you your wet, dry, wet setup. And I know that's a little confusing, but the best part about that is that if you are trying to fill up a larger space and make a bigger sound, or if you are maybe a three-piece band and you really like to play as a three-piece, but you need a bigger sound, you need a bit wider range of what's going on to fill up the whatever's going on with your live setup. As an addition to, you can also use this setup to enhance what you're playing. So you could use what we're going to show you to one of our ABY pedals. You can use that to just run straight down the middle of your one rig to your amp and just play that normally. And then throw on the stereo wet, dry, wet rig when you're in the chorus, make it sound really big, important. You have so many different options with this. So really proud of it. Before we get down into the breakdown for everything, the real key to this working is two pedals in particular that I want to share today, and we'll talk a lot about them, but right now I'll just throw up some stuff on the screen here. The first one here is the ABY pedal. It's super important. It just takes your signal, whatever your main signal is from your guitar, splits that into two separate ones. You can go both right and left, as we're going to do here, or you could have two amps set up, and you could do either or, like A or B, or you could press it together and we use everything at once. And that's just a fantastic setup. The one that we're showing here is the Rattlesnake one, and I will have a link below. They run these in limited batches, but they are fantastic. I love the LEDs they use, and the wood engraved laser top is just cool beyond words. I highly recommend grabbing one if you can, but if you can't, any ABY pedal will do. The second pedal we're going to throw up on the screen here is from Preston Pedals LLC, and it is just taking two Tone X1 amps and putting it into one pedal for super convenience. So basically you have a two rig amp right there on one pedal, and you don't have to think about it. Both your ins and your outs are on the back of the pedal. Super simple. You're not dealing with trying to hook up 8 different things at once or get power to everything. It just gets it all in one place. But we'll break all that down more. Those are the two big ones. But that's the main setup we want to talk about. And just make sure that whatever you're doing, you know where it's going. You go to your front of house. We use our rig when we run into our live rig, which we made. We had made a video about how to make a live rig with backing tracks and a PA system. We'll link that right here if you want to build one of those of your own. But yeah, you just run into whatever you're going to do, and then you have your amp set up, and you can have everything going there. You can have two stereo sides, two different amps if you want, on left and right, and in the middle you can have your main amp, and you could have that on stage with you and still have that presence of an amp with you and have this big, large sound. So what we're going to do next, I'm going to take you to a diagram that we took the time to make, and it's available free down below. It's, of course, our Patreon. Everything's free. You just go pick it up and you can have it right there. Go ahead and use it to your heart's desire. It just shows you exactly how to do it. Let's go over there now. Let's take a look at that diagram. All right, so here we are with our diagram of the large setup, or the wet, dry, wet rig. And we're just going to break it down here in a quick diagram. If you're listening on the podcast, we have the diagram linked below. And if you're watching this on YouTube, everything's linked below. It's free on our Patreon. You can go grab this diagram. We're going to walk through it here. So the first thing we have in the diagram is our guitar, obviously what we're playing. So we're going to just have our guitar going directly into our pedal board, and that goes right into all our dry pedals, or all our preamps, compressors, EQ, boosts, all those things that are considered dry pedals. And it runs through all of those, goes out into your ABY pedal. Now, again, there are hundreds, if not thousands, of different ABY pedals. Choose the ones you like. Like we said here, in our diagram, we're showing our rattlesnake one that has this really cool wood engraving on top. Really love it. But you can get any one you like. They all work. But the whole point about this is it takes your signal, splits it into two different signals that you can use separately or together. So we're going to take this first line. It's going down to what we call our B output. And that's just running straight into our amp. And here we have the orange, obviously, that we're using in our example today. But that can be any amp that you like. So I'd just stick with that, whatever works for you. That's what's going to be on stage or with you to play. The A output is going to go over on our board. And it's going to go over to all the wet signal and all the wet pedals. And all those are the ones that are delay, chorus, reverbs, modulation, all of those. And the best part about modern day, like delays and reverbs, all those have stereo outputs, which is great. So you can get that nice wide signal. But we're going to take advantage of that, run it into making sure that the delays and the reverbs with the stereo signals are set last in our signal, and split that and run that over to our Preston's pedal here that we were talking about before, that has the two Tonex ones on them, two separate amps. Go right and left into those and pass through that, and those will go to your front of house or to your PA system, whatever you're using to amplify your signal. So then you have a right and left signal from two amps right there. And also straight down the middle, you have your B output, which is the amp that we did before. And then you can use your ABY pedal, of course, to select between either just running your two stereo AB output here, your amp 1 and amp 2. And then you can also switch over to just playing in your amp, or you can use both if you're going for that power sound. So there's so many options, and I hope that really makes it simple. But this really breaks down how you can have that huge, large sound, expand how big you can be with just using this large rig system, this wet, dry, wet rig. So hope that breaks it down. Let's keep moving on. All right, so that is the diagram and how to get that done and how to set up everything, how it works, how the flow chart of where everything's going. My only recommendation going forward, if you choose to do this, which I really hope you do, just make sure you're investing in high quality cables. Here on ours, we used all rattlesnake cables, and the links for all these are down below, but they are fantastic, lifetime warranty, the best coating and around a cable you can get. I just cannot recommend these guys enough. Check them out. But make sure you're using high quality cables for everything, so you don't have to go back and think about what's working, why is this not being dependable, why is there always an issue. If you use high quality cables from the beginning, you won't have those kind of issues. Let's move on to some audio examples. So I told you all about this, why it's great, why it should work, but let's have some audio examples. So here's what we're going to do first. We're going to set up some music for you to listen to, and then we're going to have an A and B. And in the first example of this, there's going to be a drums, bass, and just a guitar. And then I also threw in some lead in there for it. And it's just going to be your regular 1 amp setup. And you can take a listen to that. And then it'll switch over to example B, which will have our full wet, dry, wet rig with the same lead and everything else. It might sound a little bit different because doing the lead switched over to the orange for the wet, dry, wet, and it gave it a little bit of a unique sound, which was really fun. But take a listen to that, and so you can hear exactly what the difference is between a regular rig and a wet, dry, wet rig. Enjoy. All right, welcome back. I hope you enjoyed that. A little bit of a jazz feel on the autumn leaves. Called it Funky Leaves just for fun. Let's talk about another audio example that I was talking about earlier, and that is where you're able to take a chorus. If you want to build something into a larger chorus, make it sound bigger and more important, just build up the whole scene when you're playing a live show, and you can switch to using that wet, dry, wet rig from just doing your normal choruses, either one guitar or the 2 amp setup on the left and right. And the example we're just used one chord in the beginning, like we're switching into a chorus. You hit one chord, and then it switches into what the chorus would be. And then first example, of course, is just your one rig setup, your 1 amp, where you'd be playing a normal show. And example B, that'll show you how it would sound with the full sound, the whole wet, dry, wet rig with it. Take a listen to that. Oh, hey, welcome back. Just drinking some coffee from my awesome mug from Rattlesnake Cables. Again, go check those out. Now I want to talk about the next rig we're talking about, how it gets smaller, how it transforms. Nice. Love that transformer sound. Anyways, the second transformation of this rig gets a little bit smaller, but is still fantastic. Again, using the Preston Pedals dual amp for the 2 Tonexes. This is 2 amps in one little package. You can't beat that. And of course, if you've used any kind of Tonex, if you've used any of their systems, you can get great Dumbles, you can get great Fenders, you can get great Marshalls, Mesa Boogies. I mean, their captures are just top notch. If you obviously the free ones are good, but if you invest a little bit extra money and get one of those, they're fantastic. And if you combine this with, again, the Rattlesnake ABY pedal, or any ABY pedal, but of course we're using this one here for the example. If you combine those two, you could use it as a single amp when you're playing live, and then jump into using 2 amps when it's bigger. Again, switching back and forth if you really want to, both at the same time, one or the other. If you prefer a certain amp for one song and you don't want to deal with switching back on your Tonex, you can use that. You could have 4 amps at once at your feet, because these things only really use 2. But the best part about that is that if you use 4 of them, then you now have access to 4 of them without switching anything, without stopping, and still using your ABY pedal. The other thing that makes this super fantastic, again, as we're talking about great pedal companies doing great things, Tonex, of course, as of this November when this is released, just put out their newest firmware update for these pedals, for the Tonex ones, and it includes everything. So instead of having to lug around that entire pedal board, you could have 2 amps, both left and right, with switchable, and an entire effects board with it, with all of your wet effects, your dry effects, everything with it, distortions, compressions, EQs, choruses, delays, all that kind of stuff. You can't beat that. I mean, literally everything right there. You show up to a rig with one of these, you still have great tone, great everything, great control, and you don't throw out your back. If it's not that you're just going to maybe a worship, or you're going to church to play, or you're just going to go play the local bar, fill in for somebody, this is fantastic. Really covers everything. Let's talk about the next rig. Where was that sound again? Man, I love that transformer sound. Anyways, on to rig 3 of this transformer rig. That's it. Everything I just told you about is just that Tonex. Because you have those 2 Tonexes and you have, you've probably invested a little money into have a great capture, whatever amp is your favorite, and now it has all the pedals and all of the effects that you could ever need built in, ready to go, ready for you to set up and have it right there. This is the ultimate form of your transformer rig. You can now just go practice with your band. You can now just go hang out with somebody, do some songwriting with somebody, go to your room and do some practice. Of course, you can plug headphones directly into this and just do your own rehearsals and your own practice time with this. And it's still an entire rig all in one. And just because you've invested the money into this, if you have one of these, you now have access to just have at all times the perfect rig for the perfect situation. I really hope that you enjoyed going through this as much as I did. I was so excited to put this together. I hope somebody out there finds as much use out of this as I did. I'm really happy with it. Again, check out those links below to Preston Pedals and to Rattlesnake and to all those things we'll have below. We'll have that PDF below for free from our Patreon. You can go pick that up if you want to understand a little bit better about how a wet rig really works and what the benefits are. But if you have any questions, let us know. As always, we really have gone out of our way to do whatever we can to make your experience better, to make you a better musician, make a better artist, make your career grow faster. And we really want to take some time to say thank you to everybody that's joined our community. Please join us, give us a like, subscribe, whatever it takes. If this helped you at all, join us today, subscribe, be a part of this. Really, really enjoy having you here. And we'll see you guys on that next one. Bye.